You find me here at about 6:15 in the morning, and it's the 25th of April 2021. Well, we couldn't visit Crowhurst without visiting the churchyard and the abbey. And I don't know if you can hear that in the distance. Did you hear that? There's a woodpecker having a go at a tree somewhere. The bus service that used to come out here, the 75 from Hastings, almost never went to the station. It reversed into the road over there, which leads up to the station, and then made its way back to Hastings. I suppose it's quite appropriate 2 days after St George's Day that this is actually the Church of St George. And we just have a walk up here now. Obviously I don't think I can go inside, but here is what a lot of people come to see. This ancient yew tree here, which has been here, they reckon, since about 700. Such an ancient tree, and it's mentioned, I think, in the Domesday Book. There's also evidence of it in the Bexhill Tapestry, and you can't come here without touching this grand old tree. Thank you for your history, sir. And, what tales you could tell, because I happen to believe this was the area where the actual Battle of Hastings took place, not where accepted history says. And just looking across there to the ruins of the abbey, and from evidence that I've seen in recent years, I believe that that was the abbey constructed on the orders of William the Conqueror. I don't think we're allowed in actual fact. I'm not even going to try the door. I don't want there's people up in the house next to the church here, and I don't want to arouse suspicion. And there's some old graves here. These gravestones could tell a sign, a story or two, I should say. Look at this tree here. This is a magical place. You can almost smell the history. And aerial surveys talking about the ruins of the abbey there show that the dimensions of the buildings here, because I don't know whether it actually fully built or got further than the foundations, but the dimensions of the groundworks as shown exactly match the dimensions of the abbey that William ordered to be built. and I find that very interesting. Just looking up, there's a bit of rope over there, I don't know what that's for. Yeah, the pheasant and the copse down the road. Ooh, look. I don't know if you can see that. Let's pan in. The sun, although it's partly obscured by the cloud, look at the light that it's throwing on the stones in that archway. Isn't that lovely? This is, of course, a very contentious issue, and you cannot underestimate the potential importance of this particular site here. I call it the Abbey. Actually, the walls that you see are the ruins of a manor house that was built on the site later on. However, Nick Austin, who published the book The Secrets of the Norman Invasion and has a YouTube site of the same name, spent nearly 30 years doing a thorough investigation of his theories, and he's done enough to convince me, and he's also convinced other notable figures in the world of archaeology and history, but he's gone about as far as he can. It's down to the historians and archaeologists of the future to take things further, to do more investigation, and to keep challenging the establishment, who never like being challenged, really. I suppose in the long run what we will find is that if the truth is ever fully discovered, it will lie somewhere in between all of the things that we know and purport. But I fear that won't come until certainly I am no longer in this world, and that's a great pity. But then it's probably good news for Crowhurst, because can you really imagine what it would be like if suddenly Crowhurst was officially acknowledged as the site of the Battle of Hastings? It would change the village forever. Is it better to let sleeping dogs lie sometimes? Some geese in the distance. It is so good to be able to get up early in the morning when the sun comes up and be out and about early enough so there aren't people going to work and dog walking and things like that. You're able to stand still and just experience the history and try and imagine what life might have been like back then. And certainly in this churchyard you can see, look at these magnificent trees. Some of them looking a bit sad these days, but what an age they are, what stories they can tell. If only somebody could speak tree excuse me, and listen to them and write the stories down. Now, there's this little stream here which runs through what I suppose is the centre of the area of Crowhurst. It's quite a widespread village. There we are. Let's have a look to see what's on the other side, shall we? That's quite pretty. The soothing sound of water. It's absolutely crystal clear. I don't know if we can get down anywhere. Yeah. But this is a rather sad sight as we come round the corner. Although it's good to see one of the old red post boxes preserved there. This was the old post office and stores. And I remember it being very busy at one time, and calling it the old exchange. But you went in that front door there and there was like a little shop inside, and that sadly has now gone, and I believe there is no shop in Crowhurst, no bus service either. But these interestingly preserved items here do make it look very nice. I've just paused here briefly. The only pub that's left in Crowhurst is just down the road there, the Plough. But I stopped here at Blacksmith's Field because you saw my video back to the farm. I visited the house where Gran and Grandad lived when they worked for Beach Farm at Battle. Well, that was a tide cottage. So when they retired, obviously, they had to live somewhere, and the local authority found them a home here. This is Blacksmith's Field. What a nice little selection of bungalows here for retired people. I don't want to get too close, I don't want to interfere with their privacy. But Grandad lived up there, behind that hedge, at number 6. And that's been grown since he lived here. And for a number of years, we, on Eastbourne buses, had a school service that came through here. And I used to drive it quite often. Nobody left by the time I got here, and I'd usually have about 15-20 minutes to spare, so I used to park up here, park the bus up and go and see my granddad. Made sure he was okay after Gran died.